Okay, here we are on the next module. We just talked about Denver killers. So now, listen, nothing's going to come easy, and neither is your Denver, all right? If it were easy, everyone would do it. We know this. So listen, it's just time to get a little uncomfortable. And the first clue, like we say here in the module, is you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You just have to. And because some of the things that I'm going to ask you to do and to be part of in life and to go achieve, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. But here's the question I like to ask you. And you've got to ask yourself. So listen to this carefully. What are you willing to do to get what you've always wanted? Let me say it again. What are you willing to do to get what you've always wanted? Because if the answer isn't damn near anything besides running naked down the streets, and even then if I have to, if you're not willing to do that, we got problems, all right? Because the reason I say that, if you're not willing to get uncomfortable, somebody else will be, and they will take what you deserve. Instead of you taking what you deserve, someone else will take it. In the military, they call it second, you know what they call second place in the military? They call it the first loser. And listen, I don't like to lose. And if you're here, I doubt you do either. So listen, some of the things we got to do, we got to get uncomfortable with. And you've got to get your head wrapped around the fact that if I'm going to live an extraordinary life, it doesn't come easy. It's going to require a certain amount of effort and uncomfortableness. For example, it's a light example, but this. Think about anything that you start to do, whether it's playing guitar, learn how to play tennis, golf, like we talked about before. Did you really show up on the first day? Let's say playing tennis. Did you really show up on the first day and just bada boom, bada bing, bada boom, boom, you're hitting all the points? No, you sucked. That's what happened, is you sucked on the first day. And you were uncomfortable because everyone else seems to know how to do this crap. And here you are, missing the ball, shanking the ball, whatever the case may be, or on the guitar, because God knows I've tried to play guitar. And I love watching these guys play, but they had years of experience of doing it. And here I am, toing, 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 trying to get it going on, feeling like a moron and being uncomfortable. But listen, the only way you get good at something is you start, and then you get better, and then you get better, and you get better and better. And before you know it, you wake up months, years later, and you're playing that guitar like a pro. Because everything you do in life takes time, energy, and effort. So does your Denver, all right? We're not going to click our heels together and make it happen. Sometimes it happens fast. Sometimes it takes years. But without Denver's in mind and being uncomfortable, you will never get where you need to be. And you better start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because if it was all that easy, we'd all be doing it. Fair enough? All right. So listen, how do we start figuring out what works for us with the Denver? You just gotta go get involved. Listen, I've got a buddy of mine. He's got this big, long acronym. And what it stands for, he sells airplanes, is what he does. Okay, he's an airplane broker. But this acronym is like 9 letters, and you don't know what it is. And it's sitting on his desk. And I said, what does that stand for? Everyone asks. And he says, and the acronym stands for, you can't sell airplanes sitting on your butt, right? You can't find your Denver sitting on your butt. You won't. If I was sitting here in my office and I had this big, hairy, audacious goal called the Denver, I'm not gonna find it. It's not gonna walk in my front door, come into my office and go, here you go, Steve, here it is. I wish it worked like that, because it'd be friggin' awesome, but it doesn't. You've gotta get off your butt and you've gotta go out there and find it. It won't find you. Plain and simple. What?
No.
I thought there was an airplane coming over or something. Okay, that's why I paused.
No, you're okay.
So, how do you get off your butt and go find it? Listen, there's a lot of ways to do it. You take this Denver and you're like, I'm a little interested in this. I don't know too much about it, but it's something I've always loved, right? How about you show up where they're doing it? Just like I told you about my daughter-in-law showing up. She didn't know if she liked kids or not. Honestly, her mom and I didn't think she would. We were betting against her pretty hard because she doesn't really have a lot of empathy. And when she goes to work at a daycare, we're like, oh, this ain't gonna work. And she didn't know either. But you know what she did? Is she showed the hell up. She went to a daycare, she got involved, and she started rubbing it all over her. And amazing things happened. Again, we didn't think it'd work. As it turned out, we were totally wrong. She loves being around kids. The kids love being around her. But the only way she was going to figure this out is by showing up and getting involved. You can't Google it. Well, I like kids. You can't ask ChatGPT. Will I like kids? Will they be fun for me? Will I like doing what my Denver is? You don't know this until you're around the people doing it. Fair enough? It's kind of like one of the things about showing up, even volunteering, okay? And that's what I say. It's like sampling at a buffet. Listen, if you're in college or just out of college or in high school or early in life, you know, we call them internships, right? I'm going to get an internship, which is cool. But here's what internships really are. Before you've got to get out there and pay the bills, you can go to different places and it's just like going to a buffet. You can try the broccoli salad and be like, ugh, that sucked, in whatever job it is. You can try the pasta salad and say, that's better. But you can try all these different jobs and all these different duties in a multitude of businesses, vis-a-vis internships, volunteering, or just showing up, all right? But either way, you get to sample what it is. And you, by the time it becomes a time to get a real job that has to pay the bills, here's the kicker. You already know what tastes good and what doesn't. See, most people, the reason they get in a job that sucks and don't find their Denvers is because they never tasted the buffet. And all of a sudden, they're out of school, mom and dad say, you gotta get a job, and they just show up and go, broccoli salad, investment banker, and they start eating. And they're like, this tastes friggin' awful. See, but the wise ones who went out there and said, I know the broccoli salad tastes like crap, so I'm gonna go over here and eat this dish because I already know when I ate it as a sampler platter on an internship or a volunteer basis, it tasted pretty good. See, because there's a lot of ways to find out if that Denver is really what you're made for. You gotta remember, I'm gonna show you later, we have a lot of Denvers, right? And anytime you should have a lot of hopes and dreams and big, hairy, audacious goals. Will they all work? Absolutely not. Do you want them all to work? Absolutely not. Here's why. Because sometimes what you think is great and what really is great is two very different things. I can walk up to that buffet and go, broccoli salad, that looks awesome. And you taste it and you're like, oh my God, that's the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth, right? That's how some Denvers are as well. So we've got to start getting uncomfortable, getting out there and getting it on us and being around it and hearing the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we'll talk about that in later modules. How to make sure what your Denver is what you really think it is, not something totally different. But again, nothing starts without you having these sparks in your soul, these things in your heart that make you go, if I could do anything, Steve, listen, if there was no bars held me back, if there was no societal pressures and money was, I'd go do this. That's a Denver. Now, again, don't know how I do that, but that's how you do it. In the next module, I'm going to give you some examples of how I've done this and how I've taken what seems completely unbelievable, and to most people it was, to me it just wasn't. And I made it achievable, all right? I'll see you then, but in the meantime, get comfortable being uncomfortable, all right? See you in a minute.